DDG, episode 79. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? I've just been having fun looking up news the last couple days and playing Returnal. But hopefully today should be a fun show. We're going to talk a lot of numbers today. A lot of numbers.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Off of work for a couple days. On vacation this week, but it's been a busy couple of days. Driving to and from Kentucky in 2 days, bringing my daughter home, so the house is full again. And it's just all the other randomness that's been going on. Got my second shot yesterday, so I've been trying to take it a little easy, but then still got a bunch of honeydew stuff to get set up in the house and then keep working on the office. So, but it is what it is. That's the way of the life. So, all right. We are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that live streams on Tuesdays, typically in the afternoons, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. You can also listen to us on your podcast services of choice. Post every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. You can check out the website, digitaldaysgaming.com, for more information. Please subscribe, leave a review if possible. Not a lot of news, but I think there's going to be some conversation around it, so we're going to jump right into it.
Yeah, all right. The first thing, which is probably going to be like the thing we talk about. I don't know, this either can go really long based on how deep we want to go, but Epic and Apple, they're currently in their lawsuit, their court battle. It's currently going to be like a 3-week trial.
It's
I
going to
don't
be
know if
longer
trial.
than that.
No, so they already set like a limit.
Oh, okay.
Like it's 3 weeks. They will.
Or
make
I
their
guess it's going to take
arguments.
a longer time for the judgment to come down, I think. There's going to be a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
research that has to be done. Because it's a judge.
Oh my god.
It's a judge trial, not a judge-jury trial, right?
I believe so. And
Yeah.
the judge has brought up Ready Player One multiple times, and it's just hilarious because it's close to the public, but some media are allowed into it, so we're just getting stuff based off tweets, and then people just diving into all the court documents. Uh, I'm loving every single bit of this. Just getting the random tweets from people that are there, being like, "Oh, Ready Player One was brought up again," because the metaverse is constantly being mentioned because that's something big for Fortnite. And apparently the only point of reference the judge has is like, oh, like that Ready Player One movie, which just like
Well, I
bothers
think
me.
that's kind of good that the judge doesn't really know a lot about video game stuff, because then they can almost like learn and then understand what's going back and forth, and not have any. I mean, bias is the bad word, but not have any built up expectations of like how something should work, I guess.
Yeah, it's good that the judge isn't a gamer who will just, be like, oh, you know what, fuck Apple, let's go. They're asking the right questions in terms of like, hey, explain this, and has gotten Epic in a couple gotcha moments in terms of like breaking down Epic's logic of just like, I think the last thing I saw yesterday was they asked like, hey, when the iPhone came out in 2007, could you not play Fortnite on that? Like that hardware, was it capable of? And they're like, no. They're like, okay, so Apple developed their hardware to a point where you could use it for the games, and they basically made that platform for you to develop on, and kind of use that kind of against Epic in some manner of just like, they made the platform for you. You never had to be here. Like this is something you came to. You came to their platform and you are following their rules, and just trying to use Epic's logic of just explain to me as the judge why they can't set their own rules and why that's bad for them. I have a feeling this is going to end up working in Apple's favor in the long run, because I don't know how much of a we talk about this a lot of just like, you're playing in their house, you have to follow their rules, and does Epic have enough of a case to be like, they have a monopoly, we don't do monopolies in the US, even though we fucking totally do.
Yeah, Apple
you
has
know,
Apple has a monopoly on the mobile gaming market.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like 1 billion devices
yeah,
or some
it's
crazy
crazy.
high
It's
number
crazy.
like that. The some of the numbers I pulled out, which is still coming out, like today, they broke down the platforms in terms of revenue that Fortnite makes. And Fortnite in the first 2 years has made something like a couple $1 billion, obviously, but their platforms are PlayStation 4, Xbox, Switch, PCs, then iOS and Android. So that's how they go. I believe the company made like Fortnite brought in 1.8 billion in revenue, and Epic in total, as a whole company, brought in 3.85 million in revenue. So it shows you that Fortnite is a huge chunk of Epic's business, and we're getting like the whole.
We're getting
view.
information I didn't expect to come out of this court trial. Like I thought this was going to be very heavily focused on Apple's relationship with Epic and Epic's relationship with Apple. Like there's stuff that's coming out that I'm like, why is that being talked about? Like, and I don't know if this is just like Apple's defense trying to make Epic look like they're greedy and be like, well, look at all the other money they spend on everything else. Like, why do they have a hard time doing this? They're willing to do this. This must be like the strategy of Apple, I guess.
Yeah. Just to show that like they're trying, like, I don't know, that that they have money to spend, I think is the thing that Apple is trying to show. So the thing that came out that I put in the news is we got exact numbers for how much Epic has been spending on the free games that they give on the Epic Game Store to, bring people into that ecosystem. From December 2018 to September 2019, Epic paid $11.6 million to various indie developers and AAA developers to give their games away. I think they were doing it like every week, or it was like every 2 weeks at a certain point.
It was like 2 games a week. I felt like it was like it was something crazy like that at one point in time.
Some of these numbers are kind of insane in terms of how much money that they gave some devs and how much they gave to others. But the key thing is, it isn't about getting those games onto platforms. It's about getting players into that ecosystem to where at a certain, if you look at the numbers, Epic basically broke down to how much money they gave to the developer and how much per person that downloaded created an account. So how much money each account costs them to acquire. Because again, accounts are the big thing.
Right.
Even if those people don't buy anything else.
Yeah, it was like attach rate of like, oh, we gave you like $1 million and you brought us, like whatever their data shows them, you brought us 200,000 new Epic Game Store users because they logged on, made an account, and clicked on your game. So I guess they're just assuming that these people came for whatever game it was. I mean, it could have been anything. Everybody likes their own kind of games, and like I have the Epic Game Store downloaded on my PC, and when I boot my PC up or come downstairs, like there's always this little kind of like pop-up menu that says this game's available for free, So.
And this is so some of the games that were on here, Subnautica seemed to be the biggest winner. Epic paid them $1.4 million, which then created 800,000 new Epic accounts. And that's what's important to Epic. So Epic only paid $1.74 per user. And in this stuff, like Subnautica got 1.4 million, and then you see stuff like I'm trying to see of a game that we would both know. So Jackbox, they only got 60,000. But they only brought in 94,000 people. So Epic must have had some knowledge of just like, this is how much we are going to give people. And this, knowing that they want to keep like the cost per new user around like that $2 mark. So they must have had advanced research in terms of.
Well, I think that right off the bat, like a Jackbox game is a party co-op game. Like that's hard to do on consoles nowadays, let alone on a PC. So in terms of like, these are, like majority, I would say 95% of or more of people that are making Epic Game Store account are playing on a PC on a monitor at a desk. I find it hard to believe that there are people that I know that hook their PCs up to their televisions, and more power to you. That's great, but you are very few and far between. So these are, a local co-op game like this, like I don't think would generate as much users as like the one like you had mentioned before we started recording. The one that you want to see that you didn't see is you want to see Grand Theft Auto. Like
if Subnautica was able to get, here it is. Batman Arkham made
old.
Yeah, old. It was 1.5 million. And it
but
brought
that name carries a ton. Yeah, that name carries a ton of weight.
000.
Obviously, yeah.
But that is like the highest mark. Grand Theft Auto 5, you would imagine, cost a shit ton more.
Right. Because that's when a lot of people started talking about, oh, I can get it for free on the Epic. Like that's when you like even heard people that aren't in our circles start talking about the Epic Game Store.
even if they didn't have a gaming PC, it's like, well, let me just at least get this entitlement. Let me get
Right.
that license. So then if I do get a gaming PC, then I have a game to play on it.
Absolutely.
I downloaded it or I claimed it, but I never downloaded it.
Mhm.
But I have an Epic Games account, so I was like, why not?
Right.
Um, but yeah, just seeing like Rime, which was a PS3 exclusive a couple years ago, they only got 45,000. It's interesting to see though these numbers come out, and I don't think these numbers were ever meant to really come out outside of this lawsuit. Like if this lawsuit didn't happen, we would not have found out these numbers unless the individual developers said like, "Hey, we only got 45,000," and this puts it's one of those weird things where when you work in retail, the companies are always like, don't fucking tell your coworkers what you make because they don't want you to have that information so then you can better position yourself when it raise time comes. This is one of those things where some of these developers might be a little salty when they see how much money their game costs. So the next time Epic comes knocking, they might have a new number in mind that Epic might not want to do.
Yeah, but I also feel like that's their fault. Like that, like each independent developer's fault for not shooting your shot. Like
Yes.
ask for the stars, settle for the clouds. Like any kind of negotiation versus Epic just and Epic does the exact same thing. Like they just approach somebody and say, "Here you go, Rime. Here's 40K," and the studio, like, I don't blame them. Wow, this is 40K right now. Like with
For a
no
3-year-old game.
with no loan, no interest, no attach rate. We just gotta, like, our game's already done. We just gotta give them permission to give it away for free, and you're gonna give us this much money. Like, okay, and not thinking like, and Epic's like, dude, we're getting this for like 35 cents a user.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's basically what it turns into, and that's all Epic.
I'm not
really
saying
cares
that
about.
Rime was worth 35 cents a user. I'm just using a broad example, but
No, but like we have that information,
Right.
if we want it.
so this leads into like so much of interesting
now,
data.
47 cents a user.
Yeah, so thankfully I lowballed it. So this leads into like tons of like super interesting data that I would love to see that we'll never see, of like how much like did Sony give for Rocket League, which kind of like I felt like was kind of like the torch of leading PlayStation Plus at that time, and how much and then maybe why we're not seeing as much PlayStation and studio games on PS Plus, because like though the people that have PS Plus maybe already have the game. Like this is why Killzone Shadowfall probably has never been on Plus, because they don't need it to be, and there's no increase. They, like you said, there's data out there like, oh well, we'll just put Ratchet and Clank on there. Like, well, then the PS Plus guy's like, well, that's not going to get us any more new users, like.
And it's also fascinating because we never really know what Xbox and PlayStation pay for games for gold, Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now. We kind of can like get the ballpark at least of what they might be paying for when a game's a couple years old and they add it to their services, and why Microsoft is interested in just acquiring studios and publishers to fill Game Pass out, because then they don't have to pay.
Yeah, they don't have to negotiate.
like-
you just do what I say.
Yeah, it's just like, we're going to put out the entire Bethesda library on our service. While PlayStation, on the other hand, would then have to, negotiate with the developer to be like, we want to put all your games eventually on Plus or on PlayStation Now. Now we know like a ballpark
Right.
of how much that could cost for older games.
And the difference is too, like between the Epic does the same thing as PS Plus and Games with Gold, of like the limited time aspect of it, where like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Gold are rewarding you, or even Epic is rewarding you for being a continuous user. Like you have access to the games all the time. If you sign in once every 30 days, like you get this stuff. Hopefully you see something else that's on sale while you're there and you buy it. Things like that. Versus, and again, I don't want to turn everything into this, but versus like with Xbox or Microsoft buying all these studios now, of knowing what will always be on Game Pass. Like the true instant library that you're getting. And, like that, maybe that's a situation where Microsoft went to Bethesda and said, hey, like, let's reach a deal. Like that's like supposedly rumored with like Ubisoft, like bringing Ubisoft Plus to Game Pass or whatever. And like the conversations are going back and forth where Microsoft's like, so what would it take? And then Bethesda's like, well, how long are you talking? And we're like, oh, we just want it all the time. And like, well, that's going to be this much. And they're probably like, fuck it, we'll buy you. Like,
yeah, like financially,
Right.
like how much that could have cost versus just like, okay, we're just going to buy everything. We're going to buy the house.
Yeah.
Like, We're not gonna rent. We're just gonna just buy everything.
Yeah, so it's just like it's super super interesting. Like, and some of the other stuff that's coming out of this too is just. I tweeted this the other day. Like, this is gonna be weird. Like, this is finding out like how much like the CEO's secretary makes, and you're working harder than the secretary who just answers phone for the boss, and you're like, what the heck, like.
Well, the numbers that came out, I found them for the average amount that Fortnite makes, just Fortnite from
I don't really.
January.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I don't really care how. Like, we know Fortnite's a money chug. Like,
No, but like
but
this is
the numbers are astonishing. I'm more fascinated by how much. Like, I think I saw something like the Epic Game Store is projected over the next like 8 years to lose like billions
yes.
of dollars. And Epic's like, yeah, that's business.
Yeah, we're playing the long game. No, but specifically when it comes to like Fortnite, because this is what this whole thing is over, is
Right.
Fortnite. PlayStation, the average monthly amount of revenue Fortnite produced on PlayStation was 148 million monthly over a year period. Every month it would produce 148 million, which they would have to give like 30% to PlayStation, which has come up a lot during the court thing of like, well, how come you're not mad at Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo for taking 30%? And Epic is just really like, they don't really have an answer for that other than like, this is the battle we're doing. And Xbox is making 82 million a month. Fortnite is making 40 million on the Switch, 27 million on PC, and only 23 million on iOS. Compared to what they're making on consoles, you would almost wonder like, is it even fucking worth it to do this fight with Apple, and all your shit, all your dirty laundry is going to be shown to the world. And and then they make 2.4 million on Android, which is funny. Like that's what they want, is like that free platform.
Yeah, but just look at that
that
difference. Like, look at the difference between Android and Apple. It's crazy. And that just like
But
hearing about the contract negotiations of like where Sony gets money when people buy something on an iPhone. Like, that's because like my wife was like kind of confused about it at first when we were talking about it a little bit, or I was confused about it. I don't remember. Where like, so like I have I play Fortnite on PlayStation. I don't, but let's just say I do. I play Fortnite on PlayStation, and I mess around with it on my phone, and like for Christmas I get like an iTunes gift card. So I take my $20 of iTunes gift cards, load it up onto my Apple account, load up my Fortnite account, buy my skins or whatever with my iTunes gift card that I got, and then go back and play it on PlayStation. Like, that's exactly what happens.
yeah,
And Sony's getting money for that. Like,
well, that was like that the stuff that came out was just like Epic's emails, like from the CEOs and other people in Sony. Just the fight that they had just for crossplay came out. Just those
Sony
emails.
looks really, really bad, but at the same time, I don't blame Sony because they're number one, and they know they're number one.
Yeah, they
So.
get to have that swagger and that confidence of just like,
And they
we
see the
will make
data
our
too.
rules.
They know how many people are spending money on microtransactions on Fortnite on PSN, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, and again, like tying it back and forth, like if Fortnite, as a free to play game generates $150 million a month on PlayStation, you can't tell me that a game like MLB The Show doesn't generate like $500,000 a month.
Something like that. Yeah, it has
Like,
to generate.
I'm saying like low, like half, like
Mhm.
like 0.25%.
The
like-
PlayStation's 30% from Fortnite is more than the 100%
Right.
that they get from MLB The Show.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter of like the majority of the people that I think you and I interact with on a day in and day out basis in the video game community hate microtransactions. This entire lawsuit is telling us that the rest of the world sucks at this.
Yeah, they're totally down for
This whole like
microtransactions.
vault with your wallet thing. Yeah, you're showing you're showing exactly why games like Destiny got an Eververse and MLB The Show started selling stubs, and and 2K NBA 2K has virtual currency. Like, we as a society of world of gamers are terrible.
Oh yeah, no self-control.
Yeah,
None at all.
Terrible.
It's funny though. This is the first like big lawsuit that I don't care who wins, because fuck both companies.
Yeah,
really,
it's just
in
billionaires
general.
flinging sticks wrapped in money like at each other.
It's funny because it's like Tim Sweeney apparently is going to be the because of COVID you can't just fill the courtroom with people, so like the executive representation is Tim Sweeney, and he's going to be there every day. Tim Cook, I believe, is due in court either sometime this week or next week, but he's only going to go in like once or twice. I can't wait for them to have a little bit of a thing, because they're going to have to put like Tim Cook on a thing and just ask him fucking Fortnite questions. You know, like they'll ask him raw number stuff, but you have to wonder just like how annoyed someone like Tim Cook is that he's going to be in court because of fucking Fortnite, you know, because Epic Games wants to do this, and how his demeanor is going to be during this proceeding, because it probably feels like a complete waste of time for him.
Yeah, like I guess I don't get Epic's end game with this lawsuit. Like, what are they? Because I mean, as it's looking right now, early on, they're gonna lose. Like, I mean, I feel like Epic's gonna lose, and because I think at the bottom line, the judge is gonna be like, okay, well, you knew the rules in advance, and now you're complaining about the rules when your thing is huge. Like,
yeah,
that's like, it's like
the judge will probably just be like, okay, you're fighting him here. Where's your lawsuit against PlayStation? Where's your lawsuit against Nintendo?
Yeah.
Where's your lawsuit against Xbox?
This is like suing Ferrari because you don't know how to drive the speed limit.
Yeah, it's gonna be funny when like it comes down, or they could surprise us, and then Apple's gonna have to change their stuff. But Apple makes so much money off like their walled garden or whatever that they can't just change the rules for one person.
You don't really have it in here, but I mean, I know we briefly talked about it before we started recording, but this crossplay conversation that we were having like years ago, like about what Sony was like saying that, hey, we don't really think it's safe for our ecosystem to be exposed to the crossplay. Like, we can't protect the data. I don't see any of that in these documents of like Sony asking questions about security and safety. And it's more or less of like, well, you're not giving us enough money. Now, again, I don't blame Sony for doing it. But they were sitting there and like publicly telling people like, oh, well, we don't really think it's safe for our user base and our network to be exposed like that, and you know, and it was more or less like, well, Epic's not really giving us enough money, even when Epic wanted to make Sony out to be the good guy in it. Like,
yeah, there's that email floating around where it's like I think it's Tim Sweeney's emailing with someone at Sony, and he's like, we'll make an announcement, or you can make the announcement, you guys can look like the hero. Is just begging PlayStation like, come on, let's just do this.
And it leads to the you know, the power struggle. Like, again, like, not that Jim Ryan's doing a terrible job, but this is the power struggle of what was happening at PlayStation, of where there's got to be some financial benefit to crossplay. Like, there has to be. And obviously we're seeing some of that now with when Sony finally gave in, like how much money Epic is giving Sony for crossplay. But, you know, like, this is the hierarchy that was at PlayStation during the PS4 heyday was obviously dead set against it because they don't feel like they were getting enough money from it. And I think it cost Layden his job.
Potentially, yeah. Well, the whole restructure that they were already planning to do definitely played the ultimate factor in it. But I'm sure when the restructure happened, when they were doing the totem pole, because of the arguments and like fights that they had, he got moved so far down that he was just like, all right, I'm done. And when you look back to a couple weeks ago, when he's liking every tweet that is saying he's better than Jim Ryan, that means there is some sort of like
rift
there to this day.
But it was funny too, because it looked like, you know, I don't know, I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but it looked like Call of Duty is the one that more forced the crossplay thing, and then Epic was like, hey, wait a minute, you know, like when I think it was like Modern Warfare, right, when it was first announced that it was gonna have crossplay, like. And I feel like I feel like at the announcement, not when the game came out, but when it was announced, like, I think that Fortnite was still having issues with Sony trying to get crossplay to go.
No. Fortnite should have been taken care of by the time Modern Warfare had that. So, Fortnite's had crossplay for like 2 years, or 2-3 years now.
Okay,
but,
I mean, like, I could be wrong, but it was more or less I just felt like remembering like, wow, like Activision got Sony to do it, you know.
But it's funny though, if you think back to things, where the play line, the timeline of just, you know, when like Rocket League accidentally turned crossplay on for a couple hours, and then I believe Fortnite did that as well, where they're like, "Oops, look at us," you know, and you're seeing how they're doing stuff with Apple in terms of just like, "Oh yeah, we made our own paywall that you can go into through Safari so we can get a bigger cut," you know. Breaking the rules and being like, oops, we didn't know we could do that. And you're seeing that like how Epic's
Microsoft's
doing
kind
it.
of doing the same thing with
Yeah.
Game Pass
It's
through the browser.
fascinating.
So,
Yeah, and we'll probably hear more about that, but that one's going to be. I guarantee that's going to come up in terms of like, especially we're only like 2 days into this trial, and we're already getting this much information. So we're going to probably get a bunch more over the next like 2 weeks since it's going to be a 3-week trial.
yeah, but I mean, if you're at all interested, there is some super fascinating data. Tom Warren of The Verge, I think, is doing a really good job of covering this. I follow him on Twitter. He's doing a really good job of that. I retweeted a couple things, so if you're looking for more information on that, I haven't come across like anything else. I've seen some of the supplemental articles that like the gaming websites have released. Like Tom Warren has always been like super impressive to me on The Verge in terms of what he's able to analyze. And then obviously like the number crunchers are just going crazy. Like they're just having a blast.
Simon Carless
Okay.
is the one who's been releasing a ton of documents. He's the one that released that Epic Games free game thing. He released like 3 or 4 more documents. I think The Verge has like the big 18 or 15 pages of just Epic financials, where you can see like who's invested in them. You can see like Sony over.
Well,
the
yeah,
last
and that's the
couple
crazy
years.
part too. Is like Sony has minority stake in Epic and is being paid by Epic and is making money off of their minority stake.
And are interested in Epic's movie technology. Like
it's
Sony realized that there's money in
They got
Epic.
they got both hands out. Like
Yeah.
so, it's
So
just
we
like
know
whether you
whose
believe
side-
whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, Sony is investing in minority stakes of things, benefiting from it and getting paid on a separate contract from it, which gets into some really weird business practices. I think I feel like you as a part owner of a business and like negotiating a subcontract outside of the ownership part is kind of weird.
That's when companies like, especially like a Sony, where it's like
it's Sony
different
that owns part
divisions.
of Epic, but you're negotiating with the PlayStation with Sony PlayStation. They're kind of
And
separate
it's-
entities. Like, okay, it's like,
and we heard how that used to get confusing, which is why Sony consolidated PlayStation in terms of like, okay, we're not going to have a European team, a US team, and a Japanese team. It's just one big.
yeah, and we've
SIE.
seen less PS Plus subscriptions saying, oh, US gets this and UK gets this. Like that, we haven't seen that anymore.
Yeah, they streamlined that.
Yeah.
The only time it happens is if there's something like offensive to a territory. And
Correct.
it's only happened like.
Yeah,
Then they purposely just don't negotiate stuff like that.
right.
Let's move on from that. I'm sure we'll talk about this more as
Michael's gonna make a
more-
new segment.
I love info dumps like
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Man, just any time that's just like, hey,
There's
here's numbers.
something terrible is gonna come, whether it's against Sony, against Microsoft, against Epic, against Apple, against Android. Like something awful is gonna come out of this, and the consumers are gonna be like, what the heck? Like
It's gonna be some fucked up Fortnite thing. I think that's, or it's not gonna be like people are gonna be like, oh, what the fuck? It's gonna be like, do they know what they're doing? Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, oh, they're bleeding money here
or
there,
I'm trying to think of the right term, but like the microtransaction gambling tendency. Like I kind of hope you see some of that, like the stuff that they put in there to mess with you, to make you spend money.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I'm talking
yeah.
about? Like the dopamine, like of somebody like talking about like how like, well, if like the first, we figure out a way to like the first 10 matches they play to let them take a top 5 finish so they can start feeling cool. Like something like that's going to come out and people are gonna like, what the fuck? Like,
you're gonna find out about like some rubber banding stuff in Fortnite,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
no.
yeah.
Yeah. There's always potential for that. But let's move on to the next story. Toys for Bob announced last week that they have moved to Warzone development for Call of Duty. They are now going to be a support studio for Warzone. This bummed me the fuck out. That's because we just saw basically something like this happen to Vicarious Visions, where it's like, hey, Tony Hawk's super successful. You're going to be Blizzard's support studio. And then Toys for Bob coming off Crash 4, which sold pretty well and was critically a success. And then they also did Spyro Reignited.
But
and
it
people-
doesn't print money.
No, and that's the problem. It makes money, but Call of Duty is really big right now and makes more money. So they moved Toys for Bob into Warzone development. to where now I don't think there's a studio that Activision owns that isn't working
Right.
on Call of Duty. This was like one of the last
It,
studios.
it sucks, but just based on the numbers that we just went over on the last story, like I get it. Like it's like, what are they gonna do? Make a Crash 5 or make a new Spyro? Like, and Activision's not gonna invest into that, you know?
That's what the hope was going to be for, is because they did the Crash uh, remakes, then did Spyro, and then they did Crash 4. It's like, oh, are they going to do Spyro? No.
But do you really think that a Crash 5 would sell the same or better than a 4?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Or a new Spyro would do better than the trilogy? I don't.
But you don't know until you try. And Activision's going to find themselves in the same situation they were in before they started to do these, where it's like, oh shit, Call of Duty is making money, but it's not making as much money as it used to. And then Warzone blows up, and they're like, all right, back out our bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that they're definitely like not giving the studios the freedoms that they want, and we can see that the company, that some people are leaving because they're like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't, you know, I don't want to work for you guys, and I don't want to, you know, make a loot box animation.
And that's basically what happened. Is some creatives from Toys for Bob have left. They announced that they're leaving on Twitter. This immediately started the rumor mill that layoffs were happening, but Activision was like, no layoffs are happening. No major departures are happening. But it makes sense if you're going to become a support studio. The creative people are creative. They're going to want to do something else to fulfill their desires. And being a support studio, you don't really need creative people to do support for a game. So Toys for Bob is good in terms of
this is where that money that we're talking about from Epic and Game Pass comes into play. Of like, this is guaranteed money to they're reducing some of the risk for these developers to make games.
Yeah, they're giving them a consistent job. It just sucks for like a gamer consumer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Business, it makes sense to do this business wise.
And then they can just do it again. They can wait like 18 months or 12 months and say, okay, Toys for Bob, good job. You helped us get through a couple season crunch on Warzone. Okay, like now we hired a new creative director for you, and here's your new thing.
Exactly. But that's what I'm talking about, the cycle. That it's very frustrating with Activision. It's just like, run something, burn it to the ground.
Right.
Refresh.
That's why I'm actually surprised that they're closing the studios. Like, they closed Vicarious Visions, and you know, previously Vicarious Vision was assigned to Destiny. Like and then Bungie and Destiny gave Vicarious Visions the credit. Like, it came out and publicly say, like, this expansion, this seasonal content was done by the VV team. They've done a great job. We've worked really close with them, but this is VV's baby. Like, they were giving them credit for it. And, you know, like, I still feel like they could have been VV and working on Diablo, and they still could have been Vicarious Visions. And they, you know, whether their logo shows up in there or not, or shows up in the credits or wherever it shows up, but instead they're like, you know what? No, you're closed, and you're Activision Blizzard now.
And that could very well happen for Toys for Bob. They could just be. It's just like, we always have to get reminded, or at least me personally, that Raven still exists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that Raven is a studio that works at Activision, but they might as well not have a name, because they just, you know,
they might as well just be called Matt Bitch.
Yeah, and they just get moved over from Call of Duty game to Call of Duty game. I think they're leading a Call of Duty game soon, but that could be Toys for Bob, where we're like, oh yeah, Toys for Bob's totally a developer in the Call of Duty ecosystem.
But the difference is, like, Vicarious Visions is just gone now. Like, they're essentially they're closed, and their employees are working for Activision Blizzard. Like, it just sucks. So, like, when it won't have that, you know, even in 3 years, if they decide to do something different, if they take them as Activision going to let VV reopen, I don't think so.
We'll find out when, like, you know, every couple of years you have to register trademarks.
But what are they going to have? What is Activision like at this E3? Activision is going to be there. Like, are they going to pull another Sekiro out of their ass? Like,
no, I don't think so. Like, I don't know.
Because that was the biggest thing that most people were taking. Like, Sekiro looked amazing, and then you're like, Activision.
Yeah, like, where is this going to get bad? And it turned out to be one of the best games from Software. I don't know what Activision does other than be like, hey, here's a new Call of Duty.
Right.
Like, you know, their 1-2 punch, or they had like 3 things that they would show at E3: Skylanders, Destiny, and Call of Duty. And now they just have Call of Duty. And Blizzard just, you know, they do BlizzCon, so we won't see anything from them. But that's that. I was really hoping for some Spyro news, but it sounds like that's
And
never
then
going to happen.
the irony of it, I actually just look at my email. Call of Duty Mobile, 500 million downloads.
Exactly.
It's like
This is why we're here.
500 million people playing a mobile game, guys. Like it's just like
All right, moving on to Xbox. A couple things that Xbox is basically doing their push for PC over the last couple months. The newest thing that came out is Halo Infinite will have crossplay and cross progression on Xbox and PC and Xbox One. So all the Xboxes that have Halo Infinite coming out, because I still forget Halo Infinite's coming out for the old Xboxes.
and it's going to be
PC.
free to play multiplayer.
Yeah, all of that is going to be cross-play, cross-progression. So you can play with anyone on those platforms, and then also you can jump from platform to platform and carry your progress over. So that's good for Halo. They're really pushing for Halo if that game ever comes out to keep that ecosystem alive, because I would assume the Halo multiplayer games have been like kind of dropping in popularity just because it's been taking so long, but compared to the old days on the 360, Halo's multiplayer, those games would last forever. And then, Halo 4, Halo 5 comes out and those multiplayers just kind of disappeared. And Master Chief Collection, same thing, where like people just aren't playing it. Though I think there might be more people playing it on PC because that came out more recent. But they're doing whatever they can to make sure that if you load up, the Halo Infinite, you will find people to play with because they're going to just be available on every platform.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, like we've said it for months. Like Microsoft needs to bring out a first party heavy hitter. It's supposed to be Halo. Will it hit? It's hard to tell. The game is rumored to be like super expensive to make, like in the $500 million. But if they can pull off the free to play thing even remotely well and pull off the seasonal content and the microtransaction content, like they'll make that money back just from that. And I still feel like that it'll increase their Game Pass subscriptions up into the mid 30 millions. And that's only for the campaign. So like, I mean, like we'll just have to see. I think that, I think people will be genuinely surprised at what the name Halo does move, similar to like what we've been surprised at how much the name Spider-Man does move units for Sony. So it'll be super interesting, but it won't be interesting until they get it out.
Exactly. And they're at least doing whatever they can to make sure it has its best shot of delaying it multiple times. Yeah, that sucks, but they want to make sure it has a good first impression. And just making sure that there's going to be support for the multiplayer is very huge for this, especially if Halo Infinite's going to be like the anchor for Game Pass. Sorry to bring Game Pass into it, but if it's going to be an anchor for Game Pass, that would help. I know the multiplayer is going to be free, but like just having Halo Infinite campaign and Game Pass,
it's super interesting if you can somehow play on your iPad Halo multiplayer with your buddies for $10 a month or whatever, or $15 a month, and you don't have to own a console or a computer. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and in their post they talk about like they are making sure Halo Infinite runs well on their Game Pass xCloud service because they want it to be successful. Like this is going to be an anchor for Game Pass. Yes, the multiplayer is going to be for free, but I'm talking about Game Pass on other platforms, that getting people into that ecosystem and try and deliver some of that Fortnite experience.
Where it's gonna move hardware, and you listed all the hardware that it'll work on. Halo, its name is going to move hardware, whether that's turned into disc sales, digital sales, or Game Pass subscriptions. It's going to move the hardware, and the only hardware that's going to be available are going to be the Series S and X. Like you're not going to be able to find ones anywhere, at least not at a good price. Like I'm not going to pay more for an Xbox One than I would for a Series S. Like that's just dumb.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And I don't think you can even find those anymore.
Yeah.
Also in this, which Epic or not Epic, Microsoft is going to match Epic Games Store revenue split with developers. So on PC, Xbox was charging a standard 30% that they charge on consoles. On PC, they're going to move that down to 12% that they take from revenue from the developers. And they were asked apparently about like why aren't they going to do the revenue cut on console, and their answer in a like a shortened way is just like there's no competitive reason to cut the revenue split.
Sony's revenue is the same, so it's not like the developer that making a console only game has a better choice.
And there's no other store on the Xbox that they have to compete with.
Right.
So they're just really trying to get in on the PC stuff and bring people to the Microsoft store, which is a real challenge because that store sucks. Though they did promise that they would improve the Microsoft store for gaming purposes over the course of this year. Because man, I fucking hate the Microsoft store.
Yeah, I do too. But at the same time, if they sign a deal with somebody to make a console, or I'm sorry, a PlayStation or a PC exclusive game, and they sign a deal like Epic's been doing, and you turn on your Windows computer, like you're gonna know that game's out, whether you're a gamer or not.
Oh no, definitely. But we're gonna try and download that game, and it's not gonna download, or it's not gonna update.
It'll just download in your next Windows update.
That would be an improvement over the current shit. Because like, man, the Microsoft Store is just terrible.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will push them into making it a better service. It's kind of why I stopped like messing with the like, because you can use the Xbox Game Pass PC app, but it still kicks you sometimes to the Microsoft Store for updates and stuff. So it's a mess. So hopefully they actually improve it. Final story, which is something I'm sure me and Dave both celebrated when this was announced, because this is the thing we've been wanting.
I love the headline, but then I read the details. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Sony, specifically PlayStation, has struck a deal to integrate Discord into the PlayStation Network.
Yay.
They put out, Jim Ryan put a whole post out saying like they're happy and excited to bring Discord into the PlayStation Network ecosystem. We won't see this until early 2022.
Boo.
I'm guessing it's because they didn't want this to slip out through financials, so they just wanted to get ahead. They, signed the deal and immediately like, all right, fuck it, we got to announce this because this is going to come out because it's a big deal. They also have taken a minority stake in Discord. Discord apparently, I didn't know this went as far, but basically when a company's raising money, they call it like Series A, B, C. I didn't know it went past C.
Okay.
Because usually, the reason it's important is because if you're in Series C, raising money, it's usually 10 million plus to get like a minority stake in a company.
Okay.
Discord's in H right now, so
which is super fascinating to me because I don't really understand how Discord makes money.
Through Nitro, and then so here's the thing: usually you don't go past C unless you're having issues going public. Developing your IPO.
Yeah, and that was
showing
that was the thing. Like that was the speculation that was happening with Discord, whatever it was, a month ago or 2 months ago, when we heard that companies were looking into purchasing them. Some of the stuff that I was reading about it was that essentially the Discord development team is bored with Discord. And they set out with the goal of making a better version of Skype, and they did it times 10. And now they're kind of just like, okay, well, like, now what? And they're kind of bored, and their next endeavor, whatever that is or isn't, is going to be expensive, obviously. And the part that I was finding super fascinating was like, oh, look, Microsoft tried to buy them, and then they denied them and turned them away, and then sold a minority stake to PlayStation. Well, okay. They decided that they didn't want to be purchased by Microsoft, and Microsoft decided they didn't want to buy a minority stake in them because otherwise Microsoft could have just done it. And Bill Gates wants to own. He wants to own the house. He won't rent the house.
Well, not Bill Gates, but Microsoft in general, because Bill Gates doesn't work for Microsoft anymore. But it sounds like the negotiations with Microsoft got close to where Discord was asking about like several $1 billion. I heard the term. I heard the number 10 multiple times, and I don't know if that was just Discord being like, let's see what we can get, and Microsoft just being like, no, it's not worth it. We already own Skype. We already own Teams.
Right.
And there's no real revenue. This is why they're on Series H,
right?
For like raising money, is because like they want to go public, but they don't really have anything to offer people.
They have nothing to increase or decrease their value. Their product is what their product is.
Yeah, they have Nitro, but like I don't know a single soul that uses Nitro, like at all. And I think Nitro is only like a $5 a month service. Like,
I mean, I haven't seen it offer enough thing to even pique my interest to even read about it.
No, exactly. When the little thing pops up on Discord, which I think it's already popped up like twice since we've been talking on my end, it's
Uh,
like, hey, sign up for Nitro. Just I don't know what the
but
benefit is
the
there.
fascinating part to me is like if Discord thinks that they're worth, as an example, like you said, $10 billion to be purchased. Like how much does 10% cost?
No, and then that's the thing. That's why I put the thing in our notes where it's like Series C starts at 10 million plus, and if they're on Series H, I'm guessing Sony had to put a good chunk of money into this to get a minority stake. But how much is a minority stake? Technically, minority stake is
Mm-hmm.
anything from 1% to 48%
Mm-hmm.
typically. So I doubt they did 48%. We would have
But
heard
at the same
that.
time, I mean, just basic numbers. If we think about it, if they try to get 10% of the company, that's $1 billion
Yeah, based on
in terms of what
Discord's
Discord thinks they're worth.
exactly.
If you
And
believe
because
the
they're
rumors, yeah.
and because they're not public, Discord can value themselves at whatever they want.
Correct. All right. So now that hockey's out of the way or whatever, everybody's like, oh, this is yes, this is great for PlayStation. If this integration is done well, this is great. If I go to message somebody through my PlayStation app and it makes me download Discord, I don't know how annoying I'm going to be with that, but I would assume that would be kind of the way that they would go. People are saying like this is why they close communities. I disagree. Because
that happened way
yeah,
before
and then
this.
I also think that this was something that maybe like Sony didn't think was possible, because they just the last firmware update they released brought a Discord feature into the party chat functionality of being able to individually turn up and turn down individual chatters' volume, which is something that Discord's had for as long as I can remember. And I feel like if they knew that Discord deal was intimate, they would not have spent the research to development to do this.
Yeah,
They would have
and
just let it ride. The party chat system isn't the voice party chat system is not terrible.
No, it's actually pretty good. It's the ecosystem that they've built
Yes.
into the
The
PS5.
messaging system and having the way that parties work. I think it'll be super cool that if you can, launch Discord like and kind of have it be like a small screen on you and like you open it up and you can join a voice chat with somebody and then, like click the PlayStation button and go back to your game. Awesome. I hope it works like that.
No, definitely. Like either making an app like Spotify that you could just load that app up and then just play it in the background. I don't think it replaces the PlayStation game base or whatever. Maybe they integrate because I feel like Sony wouldn't fully integrate it because that's risky because it's again
It's going to be an app. It's not going to be
it's
not going to be on the UI. I don't think it's going to be on the UI. It's going to
game
be
base will exist.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a Discord app you can download optionally, which I hope is the case.
But I also hope that like you can link your PSN to Discord, which I don't think you can do right now.
Yeah.
And then when you open up the Discord app, it just kind of it prompts something on your phone or on the computer or whatever it does to link your accounts, and then it just works.
I do too, and the reason I think it's going to be a year is because the deal was just signed, but also they probably have to find a way of just like the crazy people. Like right now, I'm looking at my Discord. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in 6 servers.
Because Discord got to look behind the curtain at PSN's tech and goes, what the fuck? No, 9 months at least.
Yeah, no, it could definitely be like that where it's just like
oh hell
okay.
no. And by the way, your minority stake cost just went up.
No, because they could run into stuff like that. It's just like some people have like hundreds of servers around because people are crazy, and that will break your.
Well, no, I'm just saying
infrastructure.
like Discord is like all right.
No,
let's
that's what I'm saying.
let's see how we like link our voice to it, and you're like. And they open up like the figurative hood or the cabinets, and they're like, "Why is there 484 cables going in 384 different directions?"
No, they're like, why is there Dixie cups and dental floss
Yeah,
in this box? And
is
they're
that
like,
duct tape?
Yeah. It becomes that scenario. But I also think
if we see somebody get a title working for Discord or PlayStation that talks about like Discord via PlayStation liaison, there's a big problem. Like if Discord has to put somebody on staff at Sony or vice versa, like which I think it would be Discord putting people on Sony staff, like that's when it's going to get kind of weird. Because Discord already works through a backdoor channel on Xbox, like through a browser style, because the Xbox is a pre-built PC.
basically. This deal though, it's definitely like you brought it up earlier of just like Sony didn't build their infrastructure thinking that this was going to happen. This most likely was Sony, who right now, if you pay attention to stuff outside PlayStation, is trying to diversify as much as possible. So most likely they were already negotiating with Discord, and then they tapped Jim Ryan. They're like, "Hey, you want in on this? You know, you see
if we can't get a PS4 trophy to sync on a PS5, how the hell are you going to get a PS4 user to talk to a PS5 user on Discord?"
I also think that plays a factor into why it's going to take another year, is because I don't think
only going to work on PS5.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come to PS4. That might just be too much for them to handle.
Right.
And they're hoping time will help that. I will be completely shocked. I want it to come to PS4 as well, but I will be completely shocked if it also comes to PS4.
But this, I don't feel like this is. I don't feel like this is a huge coup or win for Sony over Microsoft, even though I try not to keep tallies of those. These are two different things. This is Microsoft trying to buy another company, essentially Microsoft trying to buy the Discord tech, and Sony just wanting to leech on to the Discord tech.
I just see it as this is actually Sony trying to do something for their fan base in terms of like integrating into PlayStation. They could have done a minority stake and not integrated into PlayStation. That would have, those like, two. It would have been weird, but it's definitely one of those things where the Sony's just like, okay, here's a way we can approve it. Here's a checkbox that we can put that we can say the other guys don't, and just work around it that way. But I think this is just a good move for Sony, just because I don't interact with the game base at all on PS5.
I try not to. I love the fact that I was able to turn off, like I can be in a thread on my phone now, and I can only like be told like when a party chat starts. I don't need to hear every message anymore, because there usually wasn't a way for you to like adjust that setting. It was either all or nothing. So.
Yeah, I just hope we get full Discord access, and it's not just some like, hey, you can only have one server activated on the PS5 or something. That would weird.
Suck. So
I hope it's just full integration, text chat, different servers.
Yeah.
I want all that stuff. But yeah, that's it for the news. There was some other random stuff that came up, but these were the ones I wanted us to talk about.
All right, it's been 2 weeks in a row, Michael. Why is these words still on my screen?
Because I didn't erase it, because you never know when something's going to get delayed. And
so
nothing was delayed.
Yeah, nothing significant, I guess, was delayed. I don't know if anything was or wasn't, but nothing that like bled into the timelines or whatever. All right, so what we're planning and watching. I'll go first. Mine is a little bit shorter. So we recorded last Tuesday. I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I drove to Kentucky Saturday morning and had some dinner with my son's. Trying to think about the best way to word this. My son's girlfriend's family. And then we moved my daughter out of the dorm on Sunday and brought her home Sunday night. And Monday morning, I got my second COVID vaccine and took it easy on Monday on top of trying to move my daughter back into her bedroom. And then now today's Tuesday. So that's kind of been my week. I did take it easy on Monday. I watched a lot of Smallville. Like almost through season 2, so it's just kind of it's turned in
20 episodes. Seasons,
there's
24?
a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. There's 200 episodes. I know
there's just a lot in general. My daughter's like, "Why are you watching this?" I'm like, I don't really have a logical reason for that. It's just kind of on. And I'm taking it easy.
Like,
and
Daddy is dead right now.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it. It's still kind of like the amount of people that died in Smallville. I'm like, really? I'm like, but okay, it's fine. It's kind of interesting to learn more about the Superman universe. It's just something I don't really know enough about. I'm not like super entertained with the show, but it's kind of just it's on and it's like 40 minutes at a time and there's no commercials and Hulu just keeps going and it's fine. It's working its purpose. But Angela's like peeking in every now and then starts asking questions. I'm like, no. I'm like, we're not doing this. I'm like, because I'm not going back and watching something else again. We watched Mighty Ducks Game Changers again. This one had a lot of the original Ducks in it. It's actually kind of starting to get into that story a little bit, hopefully. It also, I thought that this was like the last episode before there was like a break, but it appears that like the next episode it's there. So I didn't see any like formal announcement on that. I thought it was only 6 episodes and then like a couple weeks break, but episode 7 or whatever is already shown in the timeline. It's going to be out next week. So who knows? I at this point, I still don't think it's worth your time to go back yet, Michael. There's nothing significant that's happened yet.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
just wait for it all to finish and then just
yeah.
sit through and kill it.
Watching, Big Shot again, the John Stamos show. My wife enjoys that. It's a basketball show. It's another thing that's on Disney Plus. It's a new show. I just want to watch something new. um, and then I did today. I booted up Returnal for about an hour and a half. The first problem I ran into was I bought it, preloaded it. It showed that it was ready to play. Obviously, I didn't play it Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Didn't play it Monday. Went to boot it up on Tuesday, and there was a patch. Pretty significant size patch. But downloaded that patch, and then I was playing, and first of all, the game looks surprisingly good. A little darker than I would want it to be, but surprisingly good. The combat feels really good. The movement of the character feels amazing. The doors opening, all that stuff, like load times,
It's
movement.
super smooth.
Yeah, the size of the environment, the space, everything they're doing, super smooth. The weapons feel unique, diverse. Like it definitely has, in my opinion, it has $70 content written on it already in the first 90 minutes that I played. Like I was somebody that was worried about that. I love Housemarque as a developer. Resogun, Dead Nation, Next Mechanica, like all of it. Like I have a good time with their games. I do feel like they kind of, it feels to me like they've got the running gun, that top down shooter vibe. They've been able to convert that to a third person, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm not a huge fan of the alternate fire.
It takes a little bit to get used to, but you can turn it off.
Yeah,
you can turn it
so
off.
I'm trying to get used to it. This is the first game that I've played, I think, that this is the first game that I've noticed it enough that's using the haptic feedback really, really well.
Oh yeah. This and Astro are like the best.
And
examples of haptic feedback.
guilty as charged, I haven't played Astro. So
Yeah.
so I mean, even like during the cutscenes of like the ship flying in the air, like the rumbling, it was impressive, like to the point where like sometimes I usually hold the controller with one hand, like while a cutscene's playing or something like that, and I'm like, no, I was like purposely like
the raindrops that first section, you just feel all that stuff. It's really well done. There's a lot of polish.
I did run into a weird issue of like after downloading the patch and playing it, and I'll speak as vaguely as possible since it's still early on for a lot of people. I got to the house that we've seen in the trailer, so I don't really feel like this is a huge story spoiler, and I couldn't go in because the game wasn't done downloading.
You can't go in anyways.
Oh well. I got something that showed up on my screen that said, your game's not done downloading.
Yeah, no, it'll pop up, or at least for me, it was like, you don't have the keys to this. So I was just like, okay. You might have actually found the keys, because this is basically a Housemarque shooter that's in third person this time, and a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
As a roguelike, and it's really
be really careful with that term.
Yeah.
People are all over people with that term.
I know.
The T for the K or whatever. Like, just be careful. Even though what people are saying it is called and what is written in the description of what it's called are two completely different things.
Yeah.
I hate genres and titles, by the way.
It is. You can tell it's a Housemarque game just based on like how the enemies fire at you. Where it's like, oh, here's a bunch of shots that you can either jump or dash to avoid.
I'm actually kind of irritated that I can't shoot those, by the way.
I don't mind that, but I really love the platforming. It's really good. Even some of the instances where I'm like, I can't make that jump. That's not on the same level. But it's like, no, if you dash, she'll grab.
Yeah, the grappling and it's smooth. It looks great. And I'm still kind of at I guess what I consider like the annoyance part of like everything I pick up. It's like, oh, view tutorial, and then you walk 10 feet, pick something else up, view tutorial, and I'm like, okay, like, all right, let's go. Like,
yeah, there is a lot of stuff that they throw at you.
Yeah.
And the tutorial does a good enough job of like, hey, press start to watch the 10-second video loop and then the description. But there's a lot of stuff to figure out. I put like 4 hours into it. I still haven't figured out exactly all of the benefits to like the parasites, and like I had a parasite that I equipped it even though I knew what it was going to do, and the parasite is like every time you pick up an item it's going to take your health away, and I had the best run with that fucking horrible parasite, and it drove me nuts because I was just like, every time I pick something up just lose health, but I forgot the benefit for it was good, because like parasites will give you like a benefit sometimes.
Yeah,
and there's
I don't understand the
stuff.
suit malfunction fully yet.
That's another. So the malfunction will give
I
you.
get it's a pro con kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like and but then. And maybe it's just so early on. Like I picked one up. I think it said something about like consume 2 consumables, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have any consumables yet.
No,
Like,
yeah, it's gonna do that
yeah.
a lot.
Which
until you get
which
into
is
the rhythm.
which is an RNG game. Like I get it. Like I'm not sitting there like gonna knock it for that. Like I was just like it was just kind of one of those things where I felt like maybe the first run that you do, like maybe, and I'm going to contradict myself because I hate hand holding, but maybe the first run they maybe held your hand a little bit better and just made sure that like, hey, you need to, like, in order to upgrade this, you need 75 of our currency, and then you go to the next room and there's a bunch of currency. Like, I think they could have done a little bit of a better job, but just a little bit.
Maybe there could have been a little better hand holding at the beginning, but I guess I've played enough of these games where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get my ass kicked for several hours before I make it past the first world, and that's basically what happened.
And I am scared because this is part of the reason why I have not or had not booted up Outriders for a long time, because of the crash mechanic bug that Outriders was having. I was worried that something like that was going to happen to me, and to this day I still haven't uploaded Outriders or played Outriders.
My game glitched today.
Okay, see, that terrifies me.
No, but on Reddit, it was figured out, and the developers came out and know if you put on the pre-order suits,
okay,
they will glitch your game.
Okay.
To where
I don't even know how to change my suit, so
when you're in the ship, there's like a little storage bin.
Okay, I think I've been in there. To be fair, I've been in there once, and I think the first thing I did was like went out and went left, and I was out.
Do not put on the DLC pre-order suits, because what happens is if you put on the pre-order DLC suits, if you go to a fabricator, which will give you like a boost, or it'll make a random item for you to consume, it breaks the room because the only fabricators are in like their own closed room with like a teleporter.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that suit on and you're in that room, it breaks the teleporter. So I had a really good run, and I was probably like 45-minute run that I had to just throw away.
Yeah.
And that's a real bummer. That's my only gripe with this.
That's the part that terrifies me, and I had to get some clarification on Twitter. Chandler and Paris and Khalif all had early access to the game. They reviewed the game. Go check out their stuff. They did, they've done some really cool videos and some interesting content around it. But like, I was skimming a lot of reviews on Thursday afternoon, and it was like, it's just, and again, I get that this is the kind of game that it is, but even with Hades, like even if I had a good run of Hades going, it's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then, like Returnal, I was hearing that potentially hours.
It's like 90 minutes to 2 hours in the first biome.
If I die like that, okay. Like if I mess up and I die, like I've died a couple times already, like, all right, that's my fault. I let him rush me. I didn't do something well enough. I wasn't in proper positioning. Like that's fine. Like that, you learn and you move on. But if this game glitches on me, if I'm like, I've heard somebody's had a boss down to like 10% and the game crashed, like that's the stuff that I would walk away from and never go back.
And that is the roguelike games. Like those stuff can be killer for you because you do take stuff with you that's permanent. But those are mostly story-based things, and there are some consumables, I believe, that carry over. But otherwise, if you have like a perfect loadout, and the game in the first area is super stingy with what guns you get. So when you find,
and then the level system, like I understand how that works, but I can be like, oh, like cool, you found another gun, 0-0. I'm like, like I don't know enough about these weapons yet to decide what I like,
And that's why you just shoot the gun to see if it works for you. But like again, the first biome is very stingy with the weapons.
Well, there's people in our community that are like, "Good luck, I can't get past the first boss," and I'm like, "Oh, great."
It's funny though. The first boss actually isn't that bad. I just noticed.
You hear that, Justin? Michael says you suck.
The only thing that sucks though is what I think people run into is they don't go in with full health.
Right.
And so because their run, they barely made it on the skin of their teeth of this to that area, because it's one of those bosses that has multiple health bars sort of scenario like that. I'm imagining that's how all bosses are going to be, and I kind of hate that.
Time gate, health gates, yeah.
It just becomes just avoid the voxels like you would do in like Resogun and Super Stardust. So just like, hey, they're gonna throw.
Oh yeah, I found myself using pillars already. Like but then I also was like surprised. Like I shot my weapon, and it knocked the pillar down, or like the enemy shot weapons at me and it destroyed the environment. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the environment stuff to break as much as it has, and I realized I have the most fun with this game early on. I don't know about you because you've only just started.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing the game way too slow in terms of like peeking out, shooting, moving very methodically through the levels, so I don't put myself into like horrible scenarios where I get cornered.
Yeah,
And
well,
now,
I think I played too slow because I had 3 things jump up on the same platform that I was on. I'm like, I'm screwed.
yeah, I've had the best luck just fucking going crazy.
Yeah.
Just using that dash.
For some reason, I find myself
sprint.
wanting a grenade in this game, like desperately wanting a grenade.
I know. I wish. I did get some.
Or some projectile, I guess. You know, like.
Yeah, well, like the alt fire. If you get a good alt fire,
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't get a good alt fire. My favorite is the alt fire that just throws a grenade basically, and I wish the cooldown, though you can get the cooldown really low, but again, it's based on luck in terms of like what the game throws out for you. I just found if I just run and gun, I tend to do way better, and I can get to that first boss way easier if I'm just like, fuck it, I'm sprinting, and I'm not gonna spend in each area eliminating every enemy. Like if I see the blue door,
Yeah.
I'm going towards the blue
And that's
door.
I'm still learning like triangle door versus rectangle door, like in colors. Like, oh, this color is health, this color is currency. Like I'm picking it up, and I don't hate it. I don't think I've gotten anywhere like crazy far yet. But then I died like a little bit before recording. I'm like, all right, I don't want to start again, like because then I'm gonna be committed, and then.
It's funny because like Randy mentions, like he uses the sword a lot, which you'll get eventually. That when they first give you the sword, I was like, motherfucker, because the sword basically you can use to open locked doors or like get through like the stuff that's covered in red.
Oh, okay.
That you might have seen.
Yeah.
And it just like blew my mind because I got it, and it's basically the last thing you get towards the first boss. And then I immediately was like, fuck, am I really going to backtrack because there's so many doors I can open now? But luckily the sword is a permanent thing.
Yeah.
So now I feel like
when you see something now, you're like, oh, okay, sink,
Yeah, and there's always a lot of stuff.
But I think we're all programmed that way from so long of not really, like they're just like, oh, if you get, you get a randomly generated room, and if you come back, it's there. If it's not, it's not. It's like they almost want you, But then like I see something like, oh, there's a teleportation bubble on the other side of this wall. All right, let me figure out the 45 different ways that I may or may not be able to get there, and to find out that you can't get there. It's just
this game does such a good job of doing that though, to where now I can get through the first area relatively quick. Now that I got the sword, I can level up my character so fast. Just like when they first introduced the teleporting thing, it's just like, holy shit, this is a game changer. And just in that first biome, again, I only made it past the first one, where I hope it keeps that pace, where it's just constantly giving me new things of just like, that's what a good game like this does. Is this?
I'm definitely
incentive.
impressed, and I'm definitely intrigued by it. So, and again, I was skeptical. I can say when I'm wrong, and I can admit when I'm wrong. I was skeptical of the game. I was, as I heard more and more about it, about the rogue stuff, and it's working. They're so far it looks like it's working, and they're doing a good job. The storytelling is interesting. The audio logs are fascinating. I find myself like almost like not moving because I don't want to trigger something else or to start focusing on an enemy fight and not listening to the audio log already. So.
Yeah, like when you first find like the writing, and you can take all the hieroglyphics and then figure out their language. Where I just want to have a run where I just look for that, and if I don't find them before the final boss, I'm gonna kill myself and then go see if I can get more to load up.
Randy, I'm just kidding. I haven't even got to the first boss, so I don't know if you do or don't suck. It's a new way a new style to play the game, and I love the fact, again, I've been preaching at it for a long time. Like, okay, new, interesting, different IP. That's what Returnal is. Like 100%. So.
Yeah. I'm really happy because Housemarque was that company. You could probably go back to episodes of this podcast before Returnal came out, where I was like, I really am worried about Housemarque's future, and this shows that like Housemarque can make a AAA game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Resogun was great. Dead Nation was great. These games have been great before, but
even they admitted, those games weren't financially successful.
Yep.
And when their Fortnite knockoff, failed and didn't get out of alpha, I was really worried for them. but I'm really happy Returnal's good. Do not do the rest mode thing. Like, I know people are trying to like find a way to like save their game mid run. If the PlayStation updates during rest mode, it will close the application.
No, I think that if I'm
just seeing people.
If I've got to go to work like in an hour, like I'm not going to start playing. Like
it's one of those games.
Yeah, I'm just not. It's going to be one of those things where I'm like, all right, I'm going to play Returnal, and then I'm going to say, oh, it's 10:15 at night, and I have to make the decision. All right, do I want to start another run, or do I want to go to bed? Like, do I want to have the potential that I'm up until midnight, or do I want to just go to bed?
And no, it's definitely one of those things where you're gonna have to set a time of just like, hey, I have 1 to 3 hours to play. Let's see how far I can get in this game.
And then the thing about it though is if you do one run and it's 35 minutes and you die, I at that point, if you have the 1 to 3 hours to play, I don't know if I recommend starting another run
because you don't know. Like, I was playing before now, and I got to the boss so fast that I wasn't expecting it. And I was just like, shit, well, I told Dave 4:15, so I got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have said anything if you were stuck on a Returnal. I've done it to you with other stuff. So.
Yeah, but it was definitely one of those things where it's just like I was telling Sarah, okay, I'm just going to kill the boss, and then I'm just going to kill myself after this boss.
Yeah, after you get the key or whatever, right?
Area. Yeah.
So.
Just to see if I unlock something else. But that's literally all I've been playing.
All right,
nothing else, and nothing really of mention of
much.
So I watched the QAnon documentary, which was fucking fascinating.
So I would say early on, I know a lot of you guys have been wondering. We purchased Returnal to be able to be in the conversation of with you guys, and I would think that early on top of the reviews that are out there, like if you're wondering, if you're listening to this like about a week after Returnal came out, I feel like Michael and I agree. Like I think it's worth the investment.
Oh no, it's definitely worth it. If you have the time for it,
right?
I think
you just gotta know, like if you're somebody that like tries to play video games at like 5:30 just to get some stuff done before you eat dinner, like this is not that game.
Yeah, you just know what you're getting into, and it's also difficult. This game, like, if you get frustrated and don't like the idea that you can't save, don't do this. This is a tough game.
No real checkpoints. I mean, there's level completion, but there's no checkpoints within the levels. And like you might think, hey, this gun is really cool, and then get smacked on the right side of your body and die, and you'll never see that gun again.
There's so many times where I was just like, oh, cool, that's a new enemy. Smack, dead. I'm just like, shit, okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's it for me.
All right. So questions and comments using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can do that on Discord, Twitter. You can do it in the Twitch comments if you want, if you're watching us on Twitch. Any of the services are all linked in the show notes, so check them out and leave a comment, leave a hashtag, and let us know. Penwell writes, Chris, that's done some of the shows with Michael. Why is it so hard to find expansions in Destiny 2? I swear some are missing. I feel like I've missed the train, and Bungie isn't making it easy for newcomers to get in. I was actually direct messaging with Chris last night prior to this, and the one that you're looking for, he was looking for Curse of Osiris, is air quoted missing because it's been content vaulted. But at the same time, it has no relevance to the current story, the current events of Destiny.
They're making it easier for newcomers by retiring old shit.
Yes.
And
so to be perfectly honest with Chris's question, Chris played Destiny 2 at launch. He played the Red War, and then he was looking for stuff to continue from the Red War. With the Destiny content vault, but they essentially took all of the year one content, which was a Red War, Curse of Osiris, and the Warmind expansion, and they put it away. Partially because nobody was playing it, and the other part was because it was making the game too big. They didn't want a Warzone-like scenario. And so the positive part of it is that the game is being patched and altered at a much faster pace than it had been prior, which is a great thing, and it's giving them the ability to expand the current content they have, which is another great thing. So I disagree with making it harder for newcomers to get in. But I also don't classify you, Chris, as a newcomer. You're somebody that's a returning player from year one, which was considered to be the worst time in Destiny's history. Both games.
Yeah.
So you would my recommendation would be to anybody that is starting Destiny or returning to Destiny, play through the either make a new character or don't make a new character. To go to the tower, grab the quest at the next to the postmaster. That's like the new light quest. Start that. That'll give you a better idea of the mechanics and how the game is functioning, and then mess around in Strikes and Gambit and Crucible. Decide if you like the gameplay feel, like how things are going, knowing that it's not a full representation of the game. This is all stuff you can do for free. And then if those things are grabbing your attention at all, consider picking up a season, which is $10. And there's a new season starting next week, May 11th. I would not pick up the season now prior to May 11th. That's a waste of your time and your money. Pick up the new season at the beginning or close to the beginning of a season and play. And if the season grabs you enough, either during the season or at the end of the season, then I would pick up Beyond Light, and that would be the next step I would make. I would not worry about Forsaken. I would not worry about Shadowkeep. I have a feeling that come January, February of 2022, like Forsaken is going to get content vaulted as they start to bring new stuff in with the Witch Queen. So if you're really wanting to dabble in it, mess around with it this week a little bit, and then decide to pick up the season, spend the $10. If you like it, great. Go farther. Keep continuing to buy seasons and wait for Witch Queen. But I think however much Beyond Light currently does or doesn't cost, I have no idea. I feel like Stasis as a new thing is worth it, as a new element in the game is worth it, and that comes with Beyond Light. And then Robert writes, no gaming for me for a while, sadly. Managed to drill through my thumb. It hurts to say this. How can a thumb bleed so much? Do it yourself isn't my strong point. Anyone else suffered an injury that kept them from gaming? If you had to pick one as well, drill through your thumb and no gaming, or drill through another part of your body, one that would bring a tear to your eye, which would it be?
Okay, in terms of like one time working on a project with someone, they accidentally like cut my finger with scissors that prevented me from playing video games for like a week or two. Like it cut pretty deep. We're using like some industrial like size scissors. But I was like in the 4th or 3rd grade when that happened. So it like was way worse than it actually was, but it like little kid hands being cut by scissors like made it just like seem way worse. So that was the only time that I had like I injured myself and I couldn't play games. And in terms of like, I would rather just get drilled through the thumb. That doesn't sound that bad. I can deal with not playing video games. Yeah, but I'll be fine.
Almost like a forced break from gaming for a little bit sometimes isn't a bad thing. It's kind of like one of those things where you're like, all right, I got sick. I couldn't go to work for like a week, and it kind of felt like you were sick, but it kind of felt good not to be at work for a week, and kind of felt like you got like a refresh or whatever. Yeah.
Unless it permanently messed up my thumb to where I couldn't play again,
right.
I would be fine for taking a 2-3 week break.
It's the same thing. Like when I pulled my hamstring playing softball, I was like off for like 10 days, and it felt good to just take a break from playing softball for like 10 days. So.
You just recently had something happen to your hand where you couldn't play for a couple days, right?
Yeah, last summer. No, I did it at home, but I did. I got a good amount of stitches in there. I could actually still play because I didn't really lose a ton of functionality, but certain things would hurt my hand. But so the first couple of days I wasn't able to play. So
was it a weed whacker or something stupid?
Branches, shrubs, crap like that. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I just remember you had it for it.
All right, so those are the questions. We've got a couple more that we can use next week. But spotlights, safe to spoil, Odyssey to the West. That's Michael's spoiler cast of Enslaved?
Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, yes. Yeah.
The word enslaved isn't in there. So,
yeah, I made that mistake last week too. Yeah. I thought I fixed it, but I did not. But yeah, check that out if you haven't yet, and then just send recommendations for other stuff. And then, of course, my movie podcast is still going. Everymovieever.zone. If you
2 in a row. That's almost a streak.
No, we have 4 already recorded.
Oh.
So we're banking them.
Cheater.
We're being smart this time. Yeah. And I have like 22 old episodes I can dig into if I need to. But yeah, check out Every Movie Ever. We're in most podcast services. I'm using a different service. Kind of frustrates me.
Yeah. Just to be clear, by the way, I'm going to speak a little bit for Michael, just because I did get a couple questions from some people about it. Michael's not going anywhere. This is just him having fun. It's a passion project for him. I hope that Digital Days is a little higher of a passion project than Every Movie Ever.
No. Yeah, no.
But he's not going anywhere.
me and my friend just wanted to fuck around, and this is an excuse to do it. That's why we're not taking it too serious, which is why I'm using a free service for it, as opposed to the service we use for this.
So a couple people reached out to me and asked me, like, is everything okay with him? Is he going anywhere? Are you doing this? So, like, no. It's fine. He goes through waves of where he wants to stream and doesn't want to stream. People want you to stream. So
streaming's all right. I like doing the talking head streaming, not much the play video game streaming.
So you can follow us on the social networks. The main account is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's account is at at First MJC 1ST.
You already forgot because you're replacing me.
Yeah, I know.
There's turmoil, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's already been 18 months. That's long enough,
Owen's
right?
gonna be here next week.
Hi guys. Owen's like the amount of, I should release some of those videos on the Facebook group of stuff that he's done with the phone. Just videos that he's talking to his subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then my Twitter is at Good Dave Hunt. Join the Facebook group, please, if you so choose. Join a Discord server, please, if you so choose. Hang out, have conversations. And then patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. $1 tip jar, $3 Discord early access to separate channel. The joining Discord is free. This is a private channel that we do a terrible job of using, but it's still there. $5 gets you 24-hour early access to the podcast, and $7 gets you the bonus monthly episode, which we just released on Play Ball. We spend a lot of time not a lot of time, but we spent some time discussing our love of baseball, whether it's from a gaming standpoint or a real life standpoint. So those are there. That is April's. So we're still looking for recommendations for May as well. Thank you.
We're gonna watch the Mortal Kombat movie.
Okay.
For May.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed on Patreon. Thank you to everybody that's followed on Twitch, subscribed on Twitch. Any of those support services you do, leaving a review and writing words with the review is always super helpful. You can go to Teesprings, get some shirts if you want. If you need some new, it's getting warm outside, so maybe you need some new spring attire. We got some cool looking colors over there. And Teesprings actually takes care of their stuff. I actually filed a claim with them for my hoodie, and they're taking care of it. So they've done a really good job with that. And I don't know if the hoodie was my problem or their problem. I have no idea, but they took care of it. Other than that, that's all I got. Michael, you got anything?
No, that's it. Just check out all the various shows that we have going on, and we'll see you guys next week. We'll probably review and Returnal properly next week, because I don't think it's gonna. At least I'll be able to.
Yeah.
Review it.
I don't see any reason. Like the 90 minutes of it that I played today, I'm not like okay, I'm done. I'm like, all right, let's check this out. Let's try it somewhere.
You're still on vacation for a couple more days. You'll have time.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.